Welcome everyone to Yoga Basics. Today you'll want to have your strap, your block. If you do have two blocks, you may want to grab your second block and have your chair nearby too. I'm sitting on two folded blankets. If you normally sit on your blankets, then that's great. If not, grab a folded blanket because we are also going to be using a blanket. All right, so making yourself comfortable either with your legs folded or extended out in front of you. And then just taking a few moments to prepare for the practice by closing the eyes and turning the attention inward. And just taking a moment to notice how your body feels. Noting any areas of tension or tightness. And then we'll take 2 deep cleansing breaths. So take a nice big inhale through the nose and exhale it all out by blowing or sighing it out. And then one more nice big inhale and exhale it all out. And then soften the muscles of the face. Relax the muscles of the neck. And the shoulders. And then turn the attention to the breath. Notice the inhale. And notice the exhale. And then we'll begin a nice, even breathing, inhaling and exhaling to a count of 4. So inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. And just continue with this nice, even breathing. If at any time it makes you lightheaded or dizzy, just go back to your own normal breathing pattern. And then we also set an intention for each practice to help remind us why we are here. So that may be a benefit you would like to receive, or just an uplifting or a positive thought or a phrase. So think of an intention you'd like to have for your practice today. And then With your next inhale, go ahead and lift your head and open your eyes. If you did have your legs folded and you want to switch that top leg, go ahead and do that. And then we'll begin the warm-up by turning our heads to look out over that right shoulder and coming back to center and turning to look out over the left and back to center, dropping the chin to the chest. And then picking the chin up towards the ceiling and jetting that lower jaw out. And coming back to center and dropping the right ear to the right shoulder. And back to center and left ear to left shoulder. And back to center. Extending the hands out in front, open and close the fingers. And then some wrist circles. And reverse. Good. And then placing the hands back in the lap, we'll do some shrugs. Just picking those shoulders up and pulling them back down. And then the next time you pick the shoulders up, roll them to the back. And then bringing the shoulders back to neutral, extending the arms out in front, bring the palms and the elbows together, and then clasp your hands. With the inhale, extend the elbows out and lift the chest and chin. And with your exhale, then folding back into center, dropping the chin to the chest. Inhale, expanding out. Exhaling back to center, folding in. Good. Inhale, expand. Exhale, folding into center. Good. And once more, inhale. And exhale. Good. And then go ahead and bring the arms down. Take that right hand, place it to the outside of the right hip. Inhale the left arm up, and to exhale, bend to the right. Release back to center, switch arms, inhale, and to exhale as you bend to the left. Good, release back to center, and then coming into a twist, we'll take the left hand on the right knee, inhale to lengthen the spine. Exhale, bring that right hand around behind you as you turn and look to the right. And then release back to center, switch hands. Right hand on the left knee, again, inhale to lengthen. And to exhale, now turn and look to the left. Good, and then releasing back to center. Go ahead and if you had your legs crossed, just extend them out in front of you. Shake them out a little bit. And then taking your hands, placing them behind the right thigh, pulling that knee in and extending the leg. Warming up the knee and thigh. And then next time you pull the knee in, hold it there so you can point and flex the foot. And then some ankle circles. And reverse. Good. And then switching legs, same thing. Bending and extending the leg. And the next time you pull that knee in, hold it there, point and flex the foot. And then some ankle circles. And reverse. Good. All right, we're going to now come onto our hands and knees. Feel free to open your blanket. And you may want to do that because we're going to do cat-cow, child's pose, downward facing dog, and then we're going to come into a low lunge, so we'll be on our knees. So now would be a good time just to go ahead and open up your blanket. And then after you do that, go ahead and come into hands and knees. Place the wrists under the shoulders, knees hip-width apart and stacked under the hips. And then with your next inhale, lift the chest and chin, arching the spine for cow. And then exhale, rounding the back, dropping the chin to the chest for cat. Inhale, back to cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. Good. And once more, inhale and exhale. Good. And then bringing the spine back to neutral, we'll come into child's pose. So sending the hips back to the heels. If you want to widen your knees a little bit, if that's more comfortable, that's fine. I usually stack my fists, one on top of the other, rest my forehead. You could grab a block and rest your forehead on the block if you'd like. Just taking a few breaths here. Good, and then go ahead and extend your arms out in front of you. Come back up to hands and knees. Walk those knees in if they were wide. And then you can either come into puppy pose, extending those arms, fingertips on the mat, and dropping the chest and head down here, extending through the arms, or pressing into the base of the index finger and thumb, curl your toes, lift the hips as you press into those hands, again, extending through the arms in the back, coming into downward facing dog. So whichever pose you're in, we'll just take a few breaths here. If you're in down dog, keep a little bend in the knees, and then gradually you can begin to straighten each leg, just warming up those hamstrings. Good. Continue to breathe. Take a break if you need to. Good. And then go ahead with your exhale. Lower those knees down. If you were in puppy, go ahead and bring those hands back. So I mentioned that we're going to come into our low lunge. Here's where your 2 blocks might be handy. It'll bring you up a little bit. I don't know where my other block is. So just imagine I have another block. We're going to bring the right leg forward. So if you want to use your block to shift your weight and step that foot forward, you can always grab onto your ankle and bring it forward. All right, you want to keep that left knee pretty much stacked right under the hip. And you want to have your right knee over your right ankle. Now, if you feel a little unsteady here, try curling your left toes. That'll give you a little more stability. All right, you want to be able to bring your torso up. And we're going to do a little twist. So we're going to be twisting to the right. So we'll start with the left arm alongside the body. With an inhale, sweep that left arm up. As you exhale, you're going to begin to turn the left ribs to the right. Bring your left elbow. Now you can extend the arm here like this, so you're kind of pressing into that right leg a little bit. Or you can keep it bent and press the back of the upper arm on the elbow. So you could do this, you can kind of keep your chest up a little bit. Right arm is going to come around behind you and just rest it on the sacrum, the back of the hand. So I'm kind of forcing myself to open up that right shoulder. Good, and take a couple of breaths. Good, and then we'll release it. So release that right arm. Left arm, bring those hands down. Again, if you had your blocks, you can put your hands on the blocks. That will give you a little more height to bring that right leg back, and then we'll try it on the other side. If you need to, I'm going to turn around this way just so you can see me. If you need to, grab onto that left ankle and bring it forward. All right, and then bring the torso up again, curling those right toes will give you a little more stability in the back. Good, let's see, bring my knee back a little bit. Good, lift the torso, just take a few breaths, and then we'll come into our twist here. All right, so right arm alongside the body, inhale, and then as you exhale, begin to turn to the left. Bring that left or right upper arm to the outside of the knee, or you can extend the arm, just press it against that left knee, and then the left hand comes around behind you, just resting the back of the hand on the sacrum. Good, and breathe. Press into that left foot. You've got your right toes. Hopefully that's giving you a little stability. Good, and then we'll go ahead and release. So release that left arm. From here, we'll come up to standing. So if you're good here, again, curling those right toes, you can place your hands on that thigh, and then you're going to shift the weight into that left leg as you step forward. Okay. Keep your blanket handy because we're going to be using that in a second. So if you do have a blanket, you want to fold it. This is kind of blending in with my top, I think. You want to fold the blanket so it's in this fourths, I guess you could say. And we're going to use it when we come into chair pose because we're going to continue our twisting. So we'll start by standing on the mat in Tadasana. Just go ahead and hold on to your blanket for right now. We'll still find those four corners of the feet. Lift up through the arches, tighten the front of the thighs. Lift and tighten the abdominals. Good, focus on the spine, lengthening up. And then pick the shoulders up. Pulling down the back as you lift the chest and gaze forward. And then just taking a few breaths here. Good. All right, so we're going to come into chair pose, but we're going to put a twist into it. Here's where the blanket comes in handy. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be placing the blanket across your thighs. And then you will place your forearm as you turn on the blanket. All right, so holding the blanket right now across your thighs, take a nice big inhale. And with your exhale, bend the knees, push the weight back in the hips. So we're coming into chair, just like you normally would. Walk your hands down the blanket so you have your forearm your forearms on the blanket. So we're going to start by turning to the right. So as you're in chair, now take that left forearm and place it on the blanket as you begin to turn to the right. And then you're going to bring that right hand around on your hip as you look to the right. Now the key is not to push that left hip forward. So you want to try to keep your knees in line with one another. Good. Keep breathing. Good. And then inhale as you release. Go ahead and just kind of wiggle those legs out a little bit. And we'll try it on the other side. All right. So again, holding that blanket. Inhale. And then as you exhale, just kind of slide the blanket down those thighs a little bit. Now the right forearm will come across the blanket as you exhale. Let me get my sleeves going here. To the left, just bring that left hand around. You can rest it on your hip. Good. And again, glance down. Just check those knees that you haven't pushed that right hip forward. Try to keep the knees in line with one another. Good. And then with the inhale, come on up. Good. Go ahead and walk it out. I really felt that in those quads. I think because we come down in order to twist like that, you're actually coming down farther than you normally would. So hopefully you felt that in those thighs. All right, go ahead and just put your blanket down. And now we're going to come into Warrior One. You're always welcome to have the chair nearby. So if you did want to use the chair, go ahead and just place it at the short end of your mat. And then we're going to turn so that we're facing that short end of the mat. Coming back into Tadasana. Shift the weight to the left leg. Hold on to the chair if you need to. As you bend the right knee and step that right foot back, press the right heel down, bend the left knee. Now focus on those hips. You want to square your hips to the back of the chair. So pull that left hip back, push the right hip forward. You want to bring the torso up. Here's where maybe keeping a hand on the chair will help you. You also want to keep that left knee from going past your toes. But you want to bring the torso up. So if you feel a little safer keeping hand on the chair, then go ahead and do that. That's fine. And then we'll inhale, sweep either just the right arm or both arms up. Now, press into the heel of that right leg and tighten that right buttock. And then press into the heel of the left foot. Good. Continue to breathe. Keeping the abdominals tight will help protect that low back. Good. And then exhale, bring the arms down. Shift the weight forward into the left leg. Step the right foot forward. And we'll try it on the other side. All right. Weights in that right leg. Bend the left knee. Again, as you step that left foot back, then bend the right knee so you can press the left heel down. The left foot is angled at about 15 degrees. And remember, ideally the heels are in line with one another. If that's too narrow, just step that left foot out to the side, widen your base. Keep your right hand on the chair if you need to, so you can bring the torso up. And then inhale, just bring the left arm up, or if you're okay here, then both. And then you'll tighten the left buttock, press into the left heel, and the right heel. Good, And continue to breathe. Good, and then with the exhale, slowly lower those arms down. Shift the weight forward. Step the left foot forward. Walk it out. And then we are going to use the chair. If you have a little section of wall near you, you're welcome to use the wall also. I think since I have the chair right here, I'll show you using the chair, but you can use the wall. We're going to come into Warrior 3. So there are a number of different steps. You can stop at any point along those steps to whatever is a challenge for you. All right, so this time you want to step back from the chair a little bit. You want to be about arm's length away because we will be extending through the arms. So if you kind of measure it a little bit that way. Good. All right, so let me show you step 1. It's kind of just getting used to getting most of the weight on one leg. So let's start by shifting the weight in the left leg. You'll bend the right knee and bring your right toes behind you. And then inhale, bring your arms up. So even just balancing here is challenging the core, the legs, you know, it's a good balancing thing here. Find your gazing point. So here would be step 1. Maybe this is enough of a challenge for you. If you want to go a little deeper, then you're going to shift more of the weight into that left leg and see if you can begin to lift the right toes off the floor. Arms are extended here. Keep a little bend in that left knee. Now, if you want to go a little farther, then hold on to the chair. Actually, I probably need to back up a little bit because you want to extend through the arms. Bring those right toes behind you and then begin to lift the right leg as you extend those arms forward. Good. So you're coming more into that horizontal plane. Good. And as you stand here, then straighten the left leg. Try not to lift that right hip. Good. And then with the exhale, go ahead and bring that right leg down, walking forward, coming up, shake it out a little bit. So now, either of those 3 steps, whatever was a challenge for you, we're just going to try that on the other side. I'm going to just switch over here so you can see a little better. And you'll notice one side is going to be a little stronger than the other. All right, so start by shifting the weight in the right leg. Remember, step 1 here. Keep a bend in that right knee, left toes behind you, and then just balancing here. Find that gazing point. And then just staying here, maybe taking a little break, coming back to it, whatever's a challenge for you. Then we're actually going to try to lift the toe. You can still keep a bend in the knee here, but your left toes are off the floor. Find the gazing point. And then the last one would be to extend through the arms, keeping the arms on the back of the chair, lifting that left leg. Good. Dropping the chest. And breathe. Good, and then with your exhale, bring that right leg forward so you can step that left foot forward, shake it out. Good. All right, the last pose we're going to do on our way down, back down to the mat, is Savasana. It is a deep squat. If you do have an issue with knee flexion, this might not be the pose for you. Just do what you can. If it is something that your knees are not going to allow you to do, then just go ahead and come down on the mat. We will meet you there in a second. All right, you can have your chair in front of you if that helps. What I really like to do is take your folded blanket, put that on the mat. I'm going to do this kind of diagonally so you can see me. Also grab your block and place that on your blanket. Then turn facing forward so your heels are next to the blanket. And then you're going to pick your heels up and place just your heels on the corners of the blanket. So you want to have your feet just a little bit wider than your hips. So the balls of my feet are on the mat. My heels are on the folded blanket. So my heels are lifted a good, probably at least an inch up off the mat. Now from here is where we're going to come into the squat. If you need to hold on to the chair for support, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we're going to begin to bend our knees, coming down. Here's where the chair might be handy. Just bring it in front of you as you come down. Now the block, you can even turn it up a little bit if you need to. As you bring those hips down, look at this, you can see, you can just rest your hips on the block. You can turn it to that medium height or even flat. And then bring the hands to prayer. If you can, put the elbows to the inside of the legs so you can kind of press against those inner thighs a little bit. Now the key is keeping the torso upright so you don't want to be all bent over. Again, if it helps to steady you, just keep the chair in front. Good. And then we'll breathe. If you want to challenge, remove that block. A big difference. Big difference there when you remove that block. Either way, it's just widening those hips. It's a great posture, you know. In some countries, people sit like this to eat. They sit like this like all day long. So it's a great hip opener, relieving a lot of stress. Good. All right, so to come out of it, put one hand in front, one hand behind you, or if you are on the block, coming off the block, and then just lower yourself down. All right. Let me go ahead and put the chair to the side. Good. All right. Keep your blanket nearby. Actually, keep the chair nearby too. I want to do our first pose, and then we're going to come into camel, so we will be using both of those. All right, so we're going to work, though, on a little bit of the core. So we're going to sit with the legs extended out in front of us. Your knees and toes are going to be pointing up. Legs are pretty much hip-width apart. So this particular pose is called Dandasana, which is similar to Tadasana, our standing mountain pose, only we're obviously seated. But the aspects are the same for the pose, keeping things in alignment. So keeping those legs hip-width apart and feet parallel with one another. Now, if you feel like you're rounding in that low back, then you may want to sit up on your blanket, see if that helps. We're going to bring the hands alongside the hips because we want to press into the hands and extend through the spine. So like my elbows are bent, but I'm pressing into my hands. Now, if you find that you may want to bring the hands forward a little more. I have long arms, so I have to keep quite a big bend in my elbows here so that my shoulders don't come up around my ears. So you want to pull your shoulders down, lift the chest. Good, gazing forward. Now, again, if you feel that low back rounding, grab your blanket and sit up on a blanket or two. That will help, because we're going to bring the arms out in front of us. So I don't want you to round that low back as you sit here. Good. All right, we're going to twist. So each time we've had a twist in our warm-up, standing, and now seated. So take a nice big inhale, leave the left arm extended, and then begin to sweep that right arm out to the side, opening up to the right. And then exhale, bring that right arm back to center, and we'll try it on the other side. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale. Let's sweep that left arm around. Good. And then exhale back to the front. Good. And then release those arms down. Did you feel that in here? Helping to keep you nice and straight. All right, so now we're going to come into camel pose. So you'll want to come into a kneeling position. Here's where you'll probably want to open up a blanket. And then grab your chair again and bring that to that short end of the mat. Bring your blanket right up to the front legs of the chair. And then as you come into kneeling, you'll want to have your feet under the chair. So this is our back bend, that as we lean back, we're going to bring our hands to the chair. So just try it real quick and see if you need to pull your chair up. You can either hold on to the legs of the chair or the seat of the chair. Just position your chair. And then we'll come into that kneeling position. Stack your shoulders over the hips. With an inhale, we're going to lift the chest. And then with the exhale, we'll begin to bend from the mid-spine. Bring those hands back, either on the seat, maybe on the legs of the chair. You don't want to push your pelvis forward. Try to keep the hips over the knees. So in the back bend, you're actually bending from the mid-spine, opening up the chest. You don't have to drop the head back. You can just keep it in line with the spine. Come back to your nice, even breathing. Good. And then with the inhale, go ahead and lift the torso, or lift that chest back up. And then moving the chair, just sliding it back a little bit. We're going to come into a twist. I'm going to turn so you can see what you're going to do with your legs. So from the kneeling position, you're going to drop your hips over to the right. I forgot to have you grab your block. And you're going to rest your right hip on that block. And then the top of my right foot is just resting in the sole of my left foot. So as I sit on the block on the right side, I'm keeping my hips even with one another. So we're going to be turning to the right. I think it's easier. I don't want to have my back to you, but I think it's easier for you to see the twist. All right, so inhale to lengthen. Left hand will go on the outside of the right knee. Maybe if I come over here, maybe there we go. Inhale, and then exhale, turn and look to the right. My right hand's coming around behind me. Good, and continue to breathe. Good, and then releasing back to center. We'll try it on the other side. So come back to kneeling. Now shift those legs over to the right. You're going to drop the hips to the left. The block will go under the left hip. Turn this way. Good. And again, I've got now the top of my left foot resting in the sole of my right foot. We'll inhale to lengthen. This time the right hand will come on the left knee. And then as I exhale, I'm going to turn to the left, bring that left hand around behind me. Good. Coming back to that nice, even breathing. Good. And then with your exhale, release the twist. And then we'll come back to a seated position. So just folding the blanket. We'll go ahead and come up on the blanket. Grab your strap. Put this one to the side. Extending the legs out in front of you. All right, so we'll start with the left leg extended, and then bend the right knee and just slide that right foot in towards your sits bone. All right, I've got my strap. I'm going to place the strap around the ball of the left foot, and then I'm going to hold on to that strap with my left hand. And then my right arm, I'm going to wrap around my right knee, hug it in towards me, inhale to lengthen, and then exhale, maybe coming forward just a little bit. Here you're paying attention to that left hamstring. Press the top of the thigh down towards the mat. Good. And just continue to breathe. So you just want to feel a nice stretch in the back of that left thigh, without rounding the low back. If you're a little more flexible, you may be able to come forward and hold on to your foot. But again, pay attention to the low back. If it starts to round, then back off. Lift the torso a little bit. Good. All right, release your strap on this side. Let's try it on the other side. Sliding that left foot in. Strap goes across the right foot, holding on with your right hand. Inhale to lengthen, and then exhale. So I'm bending from the hip, not from the waist. Wrap that left arm around that left knee. Good. Press that right thigh down into the mat. And breathe. Good. And then with the inhale, lift the torso. Go ahead and release your strap. And then we're going to come down on our backs for a hip opener, and then we'll come into Savasana. Just slide that over. So whatever you need for Savasana, just gather it up close, your blankets, maybe a little sweater, some socks, something like that. And then rolling down onto your back. So from here, bend your knees and then walk your feet out to the edges of the mat. And you can bring your arms up either in what we call goddess at shoulder height. If it feels good, maybe extending those arms up overhead, getting a good stretch here. And then we're going to windshield wiper the legs. So you're going to drop the right knee down. Good. Come back to center. Drop the left knee down. Now, you can drop the right knee out if you want, or you can just keep it up towards the ceiling. And then center. So then just a nice, easy kind of flow here. Just feel a nice stretch. Again, you can drop both knees down, or keep that right knee up here. You would keep the left knee up, or you can drop it out. Good. Just do a couple more each side. And this should feel good. No pain or discomfort. If so, just do one knee at a time. Good. And then coming back to center, go ahead and walk your feet together. Bring the arms alongside the body. Extend the legs. Good. And then whatever you would like for Savasana, maybe it's grabbing the blanket under your head. I'm going to come up to seated, rolling the blanket, placing it under your knees. That makes it a lot more comfortable too. Good. And then once you've gotten yourself comfortable, go ahead and close the eyes and return the attention to the breath. Again, notice the inhale and notice the exhale. Feel the breath as it enters the nostrils and flows into the lungs. Focus on the rib cage as it expands with each inhale and contracts with each exhale. And then focus on the physical body. Relax all the muscles from the feet all the way up to the crown of the head. Release any tension or tightness. Then focus on the mind. Release any thoughts, worries, or anxieties. Your next inhale, think the word so. And with the exhale, think the word hum, which means I am. Or use any other words or phrase that has meaning to you. Allow yourself just a few moments to completely let go. And start moving your fingers, toes, and then the wrists and the ankles. And when you're ready, bending both knees and rolling onto your right side in a fetal position. And taking a few breaths here. And then using your left hand to support you, go ahead and push yourself back up into your seated position. And keeping the body relaxed and the eyes closed for another moment. Focus on the intention that you set at the beginning of the practice. And then we'll take one more deep cleansing breath. So take a nice big inhale and exhale it all out. And then go ahead and lift your head and open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.